Ayman Khan here for Seconds Out. Pleasure to be joined by on a Sunday to react to what was a big night of boxing last night. Duke McKenzie MBE, former three-weight world champion. Duke, how was the walk with the dog?
Trevor's great. He's gone back to bed. He's one of them. You know what? Like I say, I love the boy to bits, and yeah, we've gone out, we've done our normal sort of thing, and he's gone straight back to bed. His belly's full, so he's happy.
And boxing fans have their bellies full as well with last night's spate of action, which saw Dmitry Bivol get the revenge victory over Artur Beterbiev. Was he the worthy winner in the ring there last night, Duke?
Yeah, I think he was a worthy winner. I mean, in a fight that normally when you have a return fight, they don't normally live up to the first fight if the first fight's a good one. This surpassed that one. They left. You know what I love about some world title fights like this particular one. They left every ounce of energy in that ring. They tried everything, the jabs, the hooks, the uppercuts, the drama. The pushing and the shoving. It was a proper throwback fight. It kind of reminded me of, like say, fights from the sort of '70s and the '80s when you saw the real fighters going work, like a Matthew Saad Muhammad or a Diet Muhammad Cowie. Those sort of fights. It belonged in that kind of it belonged right up there with those guys. It really did. It's fantastic. It made my night.
What gave Bivol the edge on the scorecards for you? What was different from the first fight into the second?
He set himself completely. I know there was a lot of similarities in terms of the way the fight ebbed and flowed,
Hmm.
but this time what Bivol did, he got off to a good start, first 2 or 3 rounds. Then he got his second win. Might have lost maybe like the fourth to fifth to sixth. But once he got his second wind, he got his nose in front. He stayed there, and he was prepared to trade more. He was prepared to get involved more, and he was letting his hands go a lot more. And that guy's engine was just unbelievable. I mean, credit to both of them. Credit to both of them, Beterbiev and Bivol, for putting on such a magnificent fight. Honestly, I'll watch it again today.
With the scores tied at 1-1, Trilogy seems like the right move to make, you feel?
Well, I kind of figured that was the case. I mean, I was hoping Bivol got the victory. He did get the victory, set the trilogy nicely, and I'm going to beg Talksport to take me to the next one. They got to give me one of the shows.
You shouldn't have to, Duke. Fans, fans that have watched these interviews and people like myself in the industry would much like to see you over there as well, reporting on big fights like this. But what about in the aftermath, Duke? A lot has been made of so far that Beterbiev went over to Bivol before the cards were read and they shook hands, but post the announcement that Bivol had got the victory, they had another conversation. Bivol put out his hand. Nato refused to shake it, saying that, look, we've got a third fight in our midst. I'll shake your hands after that. Is there anything to make of that?
Nothing to make of that. That's the nature of the beast.
Hmm.
They're rivals still. They're still rivals. It's a 1-1, and it couldn't. Everything's just hanging on a knife edge now, because obviously in the trilogy that they're going to have, that's going to be an absolute another barnstormer. I keep using that word, but it's going to be another barnstormer. And you want to keep whatever psychological edge you had in the first fight. You want it to be there for the third fight. You don't want to start being pals and friends and, that's all right, mate. And, don't worry about it. It's 1-1. It doesn't really work like that. Not at this level of world-class boxing. I quite like that about him.
In the post-fight, Bill mentioned that he's got a number of options, including that third fight. But he says, look, Canelo rematch, Benavidez, even a move up to cruiserweight to fight up Jai Pitaya. I'm willing for
Wow.
any offer. What do you make
Yeah.
of those potential routes for Bivol?
Well, listen, what he's saying basically is the world is his oyster. He can pick and choose where he wants to go with this victory. I'd be surprised if he jumps up to the next weight right now, because this fight is very much still alive, and you really want to stamp your authority. You really want to put every sort of ghost to rest, and nobody's going to. No, I don't think there can be an argument for there not being a trilogy. There has to be a trilogy. I hope it's the next fight. I hope he doesn't go off in a different direction. I hope he doesn't taunt Beterbiev, because Beterbiev was gracious in the first place and got this fight together, and they both went at it, right? So they're gentlemen, I'm sure, and they've got a gentleman's agreement. There will be a third fight, and like I say, I sincerely can't wait for it.
Let's move on to the heavyweights. Daniel Dubois, we were expecting to see him in the ring, but he pulled out due to
Mm.
medical issue. I believe it was a fever or an illness, viral infection that pulled him out. He was back in the UK, and in stepped Martin Bakole on 2 days' notice against Joe Parker. There was a lot of conversation about this being a better fight and the potential that the much avoided Martin Bakole could come in and spring the upset, but Joe Parker made sure that wasn't the case in the second round.
Well, Joe Parker did what Joe Parker was supposed to do. When you get a replacement after your original opponent pulls out, you're supposed to go out and make a statement, and that's exactly what he did. You know, we was all revved up for the Dubois fight, but he's got ill, had to pull out. In steps your man there, Bakole, and I guess when you have to travel from the Congo for however many hours, then you got to get another flight for so many hours, and you got to get another flight, and then you arrive pretty much night before. It's not gonna bode too well for you, is it? He wasn't fit. He wasn't fit. He probably hadn't even started training because I think he was due to fight in April or May time. So he was only just sort of dusting off the cobwebs because he looked like he'd been living in Burger King, just living his life and just, because I mean, let's get it right. He weighed 318, 315 pounds. He was enormous, and I felt a little bit sorry for him, to be honest with you. You know, he travelled all that way and he got absolutely annihilated. I mean, you can't. I don't want to take anything away from Joseph Parker. It's a great result because he made that fight happen. Didn't have to fight Bakole because nobody else wanted to fight Bakole. I didn't hear anybody calling Bakole out before this fight because he was very much considered to be the bogeyman of that weight division, knocking everyone out. So, obviously you give a lot of credit to Parker, but the kid just wasn't right, was he? Bakole just wasn't right. You could see it from the minute he stepped in the ring. He was very slow, very methodical, never got going. And Parker didn't allow him to get going. And Joseph Parker, he's got this haymaker of a right hand he likes to throw. And he's just catching everybody with it at the moment, So, I'm sure it'll be a different story when he fights Dubois, I'm sure. But I don't want to take nothing away from him. It was a good result. And he fought the guy that nobody else wanted to fight and annihilated him.
I want to be direct with you, Duke, considering your status in the sport and everything you achieved. When fighters pull out a fight so close to fighting out, a lot of kind of conversations when I guess things are being talked about as brutal as the nature of the sport is, there's some feeling sometimes that maybe there wasn't something to pull them out, rather that the one fighter maybe didn't want to be in the ring at the weekend. Do you ever, as fighters, is it as brutal as that, or do you have to take the reason that's given as to Dubois having the infection as the reason that he pulled out of the fight?
I mean, listen, we're never going to know the real reasons why Daniel Dubois pulled out of the fight. However, he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy to make excuses or to just suddenly go, oh, I don't feel well, I don't want to fight. He would have trained his backside off for Joseph Parker, and he as he kept saying, he was ready to fight. Of course, it's disappointing from both sides, from Dubois' side and from Joseph Parker's side. But what they both showed is true professionalism, because Parker could have gone, okay, I'm not fighting Dubois. I'll wait, and I'll wait until he's right, rather than take a dangerous fight like the Bakole on paper. But he didn't. He stepped up and he took the fight. And for Dubois, whatever happened to him, I'm sure it's genuine. I'm sure there's no sort of Mickey Mouse. There's talk of him and Usyk fighting in again. So I'm sure he hasn't got his eyes on that right now. I'm sure he would have wanted the Parker fight first, clear the runway completely, and then go into the Usyk fight. So I don't think there's any sort of skullduggery gone on there where Dubois is concerned. Let's just hope he gets better soon, and he does go through with the Parker fight, and then possibly onto the Usyk fight.
let's shift the focus back to Joe Parker, who in the aftermath, look, before we get to that, where he took the microphone and spoke about what he wanted, the ascendancy
Hmm.
for Joe keeps the momentum going towards another world title opportunity. But he took the microphone and he said, look, I'm open for anything. Usyk, if he wants it, whatever it is. But do you feel like Joe has the potential to capture a world title, considering the form that he's in now?
Well, what he's showing is there's no such thing as a weak punching heavyweight.
Hmm.
Okay, let's get that right. And he's slamming guys now. He's had a couple of really good wins. You know, he's had this win, and obviously he's had the Wilder win. So he's knocked out a couple of world class fighters. You know, and looked pretty good doing it. So his confidence is right up there. Um, I still don't believe there's anybody a heavyweight on the planet that's going to beat Alexander Usyk. Doesn't really matter who it is because we're talking about the elite level. But he deserves a shot at any of the champions, whether it be Dubois or Usyk. You can't begrudge him that because he's earned it. Whether he beats them, that remains to be seen. Because obviously at the top end, and you start talking about styles make fights and one thing and another,
Hmm.
you know, for me, I still believe that Joe Parker's styles, say they're made for Daniel Dubois. You know, Parker ain't going to run from Dubois, and Dubois not going to run from Parker. But, you know, Dubois brings a lot more than straight lines, and he brings a lot more than just straight punches to that particular fight. So, you know, I think Dubois and Parker, if it comes off, or when it comes off, I should say, it'll be such a good fight, an entertaining fight. You know, Parker's confidence has gone through the roof. As I said, he's had a couple of really good wins now. So, you know, more power to the guy, you know, and he deserves a shot.